Vietnam is supposed to be cheap, right? Wrong. There's a trend going on YouTube and TikTok, usually sponsored by the Vietnam tourism or the influencers who have just literally been here for over 6 weeks, painting the narrative that Vietnam is the cheapest country in the world. You can live like a king for $500 a month, they say. Drink coconuts on the beach. The easy life. Yeah, about that. The problem with that, it's simply not true. Either they're lying by omission, not painting the full picture, or those content creators just don't know what they're talking about. Sure, a bowl of pho will cost you less than $2 and a grab bike won't bankrupt you. But when you try to live a normal life that you're used to, all of a sudden, it's no longer that world's cheapest country they sold you. So in this video, I am going to tell you the 10 things that cost way more in Vietnam than in the US. And no, I'm not talking about imported caviar or Lamborghinis. I'm talking about normal things people buy every single month. And of course, I'm not just gonna say it's expensive without giving an explanation. In this video, I'll explain why it costs so much and where the moniker cheapest country goes to die. By the end, you have a better understanding of the real cost of living in Vietnam, and you can make the decision whether you want to move to this beautiful country. So let's get started. So let's start off with groceries or staples that people buy every month. Milk and dairy products. In the United States, a gallon, which is roughly 4 liters, costs about $4.10 per gallon. In Vietnam, for a decent company called Vinamilk, a liter will cost between 38,000 to 45,000 VND per liter, which comes out to about $6 to $7.50 per gallon. That is roughly double the amount in the United States. And that's not even for organic milk. Why is this? 3 main reasons. 1, supply. Vietnam imports over 80% of its dairy products. Dairy farming is growing but limited due to the land being very valuable. 2, logistics. Cold chain storage is very expensive. Keeping milk cold from the factory to the truck to the store and then to your condo costs money, especially when traffic turns a simple route into a 2-hour sauna. Spoilage risk is real. Prices bake that in. 3, locals drink condensed milk and plant-based products. Thus, fresh milk is treated like liquid gold. I literally pay more for 2 liters of milk than a whole bowl of bún bò Huế. Insane. And I'm not even talking about cheese. My name is Ken Duong, international and business immigration attorney with over 16 years of experience helping individuals and companies live, work, relocate, and invest all over the world, especially here in Vietnam. I've been living here for over 12 years and I've saved a lot of money living here on expenses such as office space, staff, and also rent of condos. But that doesn't mean that everything here is cheap. And sometimes you'd be surprised. If dairy is a breakfast pain, then home appliances are a lifestyle pain. And in Vietnam, sticker shock starts in the laundry room. Home appliances, washing machines, fridges, air conditioners. In the US, mid-range appliances are just a quick trip to Costco. In Vietnam, they're pretty much a budget meeting. You would think that LG and Samsung products would be cheap in Vietnam. Why? Because the factories are only 2 hours away. A decent mid-range LG or Samsung washing machine in the US would set you back about $500 to $800 US. But in Vietnam, that same identical SKU would set you back between 15 to 25 million VND. That's 600 to 1,000 US dollars, and that's often 30 to 55% above US retail. So why is that? Even though many of these products are assembled in the region, they are assembled by imported parts from other countries. Add in sales tax, which is VAT, dealer margins, and warranty networks. Pro tip, if you rent, negotiate the appliances in your contract. Some apartments won't come with a washing machine or dryer, so you are forced to air dry your clothes in 90% humidity And hopefully, they don't smell like fish sauce. Speaking of things that make you smell bad after a workout, the third thing that's more expensive in Vietnam than in the US, gym memberships. In most US cities, you can get a decent gym membership at Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, or other gyms for between 10 to 30 US dollars a month. In Saigon, the average decent air-conditioned gym with free weights would set you back 800,000 to 1.5 million VND per month. That's about $32 to $60. California Fitness or City Gym, that will set you back between 100 to 150 US dollars a month because you have to have the mandatory personal training packages. And even at this level, you're not getting Equinox level services. Why is this? Space is expensive. Landlord leases and mall locations crank overhead. Imported gear, quality racks, plates, machines, and flooring are not cheap to ship and install. And finally, expat tax. Operators know the core clientele want Western standards and the prices match expectations. So if you are in the fitness industry and want to explore the growing wellness industry in Vietnam, there is a great opportunity. Help! We need a good gym in Saigon. But more seriously, we would be happy to help you find a location, get licenses, and import equipment. And if you think your gym membership is expensive, wait till you try to feed your gains. But a quick reality check. 80% of you are not subscribed to this channel. That's like getting a luxury gym membership, but never actually walking through the door. So hit subscribe. It takes 1 second. It's free. And it'll help others continue to know what it's really like to live in Vietnam. And also, thank you to the 20% that are already subscribed. So now, let's get back to the pain. Protein powder and supplements. A 5-pound tub of optimum nutrition gold standard whey in the US, about 65 to 80 US dollars. In Vietnam, that same tub, if it's real, will set you back about 2.2 to 2.8 million VND. That's roughly 90 to 115 US dollars. And if you buy it in a fancy gym, it will cost you $130. Fake protein is everywhere. Half the tubs on Shopee are probably loaded with creatine and hope. Real imported supplements get hit with a 10 to 30% import tax, VAT, shipping, and the pharmacy markup. Once I actually paid 120 US dollars for the same supplement that I saw for $64 on Amazon. My biceps are pretty much sponsored by the Vietnamese customs. Every rep costs extra. But at least your muscles will look good in overpriced sneakers and fashion. And here's the paradox. Vietnam manufactures some of the most global iconic brands, but yet those same brands and apparel will cost more here than in the US. A pair of Nike Air Force Ones in the United States will cost between 100 to 150 US dollars. In Vietnam official stores, that same shoe would cost between 3.5 to 5 million VND. That's about 140 to 200 US dollars. Why is that? Export first pricing. The best margins are already locked in to the export contracts. Domestic retail comes second and often at global brand pricing. Next is brand positioning. The logo is a status symbol. The local consumers pay for that status and the brands are aware of that. Shoes like Nike are optional. Phones aren't. Take the iPhone for example. In the US, they are getting it at 799 US dollars. In Vietnam, it is selling for 25 million VND. That's about 985 US dollars. You would think that you would get similar pricing as in the US because many of the Apple products such as the iPads, AirPods, and MacBooks are manufactured in Vietnam. But no, Vietnam is one of the most expensive countries in the world to get an iPhone due to the luxury tax brackets and VAT. You literally pay a I live in Vietnam tax every time Apple announces a new phone. Tim Cook thanks you personally. Buying luxury or grade A condos in Vietnam. While renting is definitely cheaper, buying a condo is not. For foreigners, grade A condos can feel more expensive than many urban cities in the United States. Not NYC penthouses, but definitely in many US and European cities. District 1 Riverview apartments, 8,000 to 12,000 per square meter. Why? foreigners are only allowed to purchase 30% within a particular building. So you are forced into the expat bubble where sellers know that you have very limited choices and charge higher prices. Less choices equals higher prices. And for any real estate transaction, you add on the 5% foreigner tax. We made a video about how to buy real estate in Vietnam, so you can click on the right-hand corner to watch that video. Like I said, the hard truth, renting is better than buying, unless you can get Vietnamese citizenship, whereby you can buy any property, anywhere, and at the most interesting prices. Funny how that works. Real estate may be expensive, but the ultimate, are you sure you want to live in Vietnam like an American expat test? Is cars. New cars. Buckle up because this one's gonna hurt. A 2025 new Corolla will cost you roughly about $23,000 in the United States. In Vietnam, the exact same car with a smaller engine will cost you about $30,000. That's 30% more expensive, and you get less power. And if you buy luxury brands, that can cost you 2 to 3 times more than in the US due to the special consumption taxes, import taxes, registration, and other fees. Also, here, you have to make a down payment of 30% just to buy a car. That's equivalent to a down payment of buying a house in Texas. We actually made a video all about cars in Vietnam, so you can click on the right-hand corner to watch that video. Number 9, gas right now in November 2025 for $1.95 will cost about 20,500 VND per liter. That's roughly $3.97 per gallon. In most cities in the United States, the average per gallon will be $3.09 to $3.15. So almost the same or more expensive in the US, even though gasoline is heavily subsidized in Vietnam. People who move here dream of weekend road trips, often discover that it is cheaper to hire a driver and a car monthly, which gives them less stress and costs the same, and many of them do. Others use motorbikes and ride-hailing apps, and they never look back. In Vietnam, a car is not convenience, it's a commitment. If you want your sanity, hire a driver when needed, instead of circling to try to find parking. But maybe you don't need a car. But maybe you have kids. Thus, your wallet meets the final boss. International schools. Best prepare your kidneys. Here's the truth that nobody talks about in the brochures. Good international education in Vietnam is expensive. Top international schools in Ho Chi Minh charge between 600 to 900 million VND per year for high school. That's roughly about $24,000 to $36,000 in tuition per year, excluding lunches, rides, and uniforms. Others can charge $40,000 plus per year. In the US, a good private school will set you back $15,000 to $30,000 in most cities. Public schools are free. Here, you pay Ivy League tuition for 9th grade. I know families that are paying for 2 kids to go international school that will actually cost more than their mortgage back home for something that's not even that great. That's not cost of living. That's financial self-harm. When people say Vietnam is cheap, they're right for local goods and services. Street food, haircuts, tailoring, house cleaning, SIM cards, domestic travel, even medical and dental services. The value is excellent. But when you cross over to Western lifestyle comforts, scarce land uses, or quota limited services, prices jump. And that's why newcomers feel betrayed. They were expecting California lifestyle at Vietnamese prices. What they get is Vietnamese lifestyle at Vietnamese prices and Western lifestyle at Western plus prices. Once you accept that, then you can game the system instead of getting played by it. Which one of these shocked you the most? Drop your comments below. And if you want the real unfiltered truth about living, working, and surviving in Vietnam, or if you saved a few hundred or a few $1,000s, hit that subscribe button and share this with all your friends to help us get to 200,000 subscribers. So on behalf of Duong Global, my name is Ken Duong. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.